Welcome back to the Advanced SEO course on Schema. This is part 4, how to implement Schema. And my name is Joseph Kahn. And in this training, I'm going to walk you through how to identify the markup to include, which is going to be cool, how to map out kind of your cards, and all that means is the information that's going to go in the schema, implementing the code. Don't get scared. I'm going to make it easy using some plugins, and then we're going to look at tracking and monitoring at the end. So what do you actually include in your schema? Okay, so, and that's just, we got to start with, what are we talking about? Are we going to create organization? Do we have a product? Is this a restaurant? You know, what is the different types? And I'm going to give you a resource where you can look and check through all the different restaurant types. So what type of website are we talking about here? Is this for an author? Is this a blog article? Is it, you know, a branding site? And what are the entities being identified, just like we talked about in the previous sections, and we're going to show you how to do that. So what makes sense to you as a human, meaning we want to see what are the entities and what we're going to identify on the page, and what makes sense to you. So what do you want to know as a human, and what makes sense to Google? What does Google want to collect and connect on the page? And again, don't stuff properties. So this really comes with at mentions and same as and things like that. Don't stuff properties that aren't needed. Meaning if your site is about chiropractic, don't add other medical services if there's no other medical services associated with it. Like, just don't overstuff it. Make sure it reflects the content of the page. That's super important. And review all the properties and make sure that they make sense. And so I would say go to schema.org and review the properties. We're going to look at that as we move through here. So how to pick schema. So what is the page about? And this particular page, as you can see, this is about Daffy Duck, which is a personality Daffy Duck. And we want Daffy Duck, as you can see here in Google, to have a knowledge card and to have information show up automatically. So that's why we want to identify everything about Daffy Duck, like from the pictures to the data, because we also show up in questions asked about Daffy Duck. So what are the entities on the page? What is there about this page? And we can use the Google NLP tool. And again, we're going to look at that to show and see what could be on the page. And don't confuse references, meaning don't connect things that shouldn't be connected. And what entities also appear. So I'm going to go over to different Daffy Duck pages that's out on the internet and see what other entities that I may be missing. Maybe Daffy's with Porky Pig and I don't have that connection on there. So we want to make sure. And remember, the reminder here is exposure. Why are we connecting Daffy Duck with Looney Tunes inside the code or inside the schema in order for Google to make those connections? Okay, so we want to make the connections going in both directions. We want, you know, to connect that way, and we're hoping to get backlinks and connections back in the opposite direction. So remember, connect the dots. That's connecting the dots, or connecting the nodes, or connecting the entities, but don't abuse. Meaning this, you got an about where you basically are saying my page, like this is showing a Joseph Kahn, for instance, is about, and then we could have marketing. I have Google brand sales, you know, kind of that's what it's about. Mentions are things that I want to be associated with, but it's not necessarily about. So like my page isn't about Facebook, but I mentioned that I'm a social media marketer. So that's why you see Facebook is in the mention section. So again, we want to connect these nodes and these dots or these dots when we're creating schema for ourselves. Okay, so the hierarchy, there's hierarchy in schema, and that just makes it super easy to dial into and dig into what you need. So basically everything in schema is a thing. It starts as a thing. That's why all things have a unique identifier. It's a unique thing, okay? So then you look from thing and you go, okay, so what is it? Is it, most of what we do here online is gonna be a creative work. Now, if you have an event coming up, that'll be event. If you have an organization, like I have drop down here, and you wanna create a local business schema, then as you see, it's dropped down there. And then if it's like you see local business, so from organization, could be a corporation, could be a government entity. Then you go local business, and then you go down, it's a dentist, it's an art gallery, it's a whatever. So you go down to that level, and basically the organization has most of the schema that you're going to use. And then if there's quote unquote stuff specific to local business, there'll be a few more added there, and we'll take a look at that. And then if there's stuff associated specifically with dentists, there'll be a few more there. So that's because it's a hierarchy. Everything from dentist goes all the way up to thing, because dentist is a thing, et cetera, if that makes sense. So the schema syntax for this must be correct, but you don't have to worry about it because we're going to copy and paste it unless you're a code or a programmer and you want to get into it, but it must be correct. And this is using JSON LD, which is, most people just say JSON, and that's JavaScript object notation for linked data, because this is what we're doing, is we're linking and connecting data. So it must be correct. And copy and paste templates to reuse, I have little templates that I use. Most of the time I use a generator, just like you'll see in this demo. And then definitely once you implement it and basically refresh your cache, go to validator.schema.org to make sure that the schema is correct. So that's kind of the thing. And here's the basic syntax of it. And I'm only giving this to you not to go program this by hand. I do want to make one special note is any time you're doing schema, and if you're copy and pasting and it breaks, chances are it's because you have an extra comma. So any last lines in the script doesn't have a comma. So if you look at the last line before the closing, make sure there's no comma. I just wanted to make a note to state that. So just make sure that if it's broken and not working, just make sure that there's not an extra comma in there, because it's usually commas or quotations that break your code. Now, we're going to go over the steps to implement. Basically, we're going to pick the format, and in this case, Google loves JSON, so it can also be in other formats, and from writing the code directly into HTML and microdata and whatever, but JSON is the easiest way to do this. We're going to mark up the content, okay, and then insert it into the website. Now, the way that you insert into the website is you could copy the code directly into your scripts, just like any scripts that you insert to your website. Google Tag Manager, if you're kind of separated out from your dev team and you want to be able to do, you can do Google Tag Manager, you can add the scripts, or plugin. Plugin's real easy to do. I actually use another thing, which is basically insert header, where I kind of insert everything, and that's kind of the demo I'm going to go up with, and then test your markup. Okay, where does it go? I promise you we're going to get to implementing it, but where does it go? So where does it go from here? So breadcrumbs, again, so schema goes on your home and local website, organizational, and website info virtually on every page. Okay, so web page info virtually on every page. From there, you've got your service page with service info, where you can, detail out your service entities. You got item lists in there that could go in there. You got person that would go and say bio page, but sometimes you put your person connected to your blog page, your FAQ. Audio goes into different audio pages, and then your article, your blog goes in your blog and article pages. That's where you implement it. Okay, so here's a quick run through demo here using the RankBrain markup generator, and then I'm going to use this plugin. If you type in HCM plugin into WordPress, that's what I'm using, and then meta generator checker to check it. It's super easy. So let's go ahead and check out RankBrain here so that we can take a look at our meta generator. So basically all I do, or all you would need to do if you're creating person schema, as you see, it's just starting right off the bat, is you can just start by typing your name, and then put all your information into whatever you're looking to do, and it writes the schema code right for you. As you see, Joseph Kahn, it just instantly writed the schema code. So once you get that schema code in there, then you copy that and then you validate that on the schema checker. So you validate it on the schema checker once you get it in there. So we go over here, and there's two places to check the code. The first place I always check is on schema.org, this one right here. This is kind of Google's tool where you could check and see what Google thinks about your page, but I always come here. And then let's just say we're checking Joseph Kahn to see what schema is on there and showing on there. So we're going to run the test. And so when you basically look on, you can put any page on here and you'll see the schema on the page. So if I click on that, you'll see it takes me right to the schema on the page right over here. And this was written by the schema generator code. I just copied and pasted it, and I'm going to show you using the tool. So here I am here, and where I implemented this on my web page So I created the code using RankRanger, and then that HFCM, if I come in here, basically you create snippets based on the thing that you need. So I have the social media, and that basically will connect all the social media dots, homepage schema, and then you want to create schema for your service page, all different pages. This is a brand new website that I just started. And then blog, and the blog entry has some useful links, and I added some blog schema to that. So for the schema that I grabbed and used from the RankRanger meta generator is right here, and as you'll see when I scroll down, all you have to do is just paste the code right in here. So as soon as you paste the code in here, then you go and you test and check it using the validator. So you go check it and make sure that it's showing I have two different tags. I have a web page, so you can kind of see my web page where I have my abouts and my mentions. If we go look at this, you'll see that would be in my web page, which was, I think I put that in my homepage schema, site-wide schema. And yeah, I did. So as you can see, the abouts and the mentions. So basically all you have to do is just copy and paste your schema right into there, and then you come over here and test it and validate it and make sure that it shows up correctly here without 0 errors and warnings. And that shows you now that you are on, your schema's worked and it's implemented. Now, does it show up on Google? Not yet. We'll have to double check and see. Okay, so, but that's how you do it. So after you do that, you're going to want to go and make sure to tell Google that you've made changes through the Google Search Console. I don't have a slide for that, but just make sure to have Google take a look at the changes that you have now to see if they go ahead and pick up that extra data. There's also plugins that you can use. Rank Math, Squirrely, All-in-One Yoast. These are some things. This is a screenshot from the Rank Math plugin. As you see, article book. They're all virtually the same, and that you'll go through this where you select article, or you select a book, or you select, and then you enter data, and then it writes code that interjects on the page. How we did it was we got the code from the RankRanger schema generator, then copied that into our plugin and then tested it. That's all we did. This basically builds in kind of that into it if you use a plugin. So a plugin is a valid way to implement the schema. And remember, whenever you implement the schema, whether you do it with Rank Math or Squirrely or any of those tools, to always test. Okay, so test your schema and validate the schema. Make sure to do the testing on both of those. And here's where. So once you get it implemented, you use RankRanger to check and test to see how well you're ranking and if there's any other targets that you want to go for. So let me throw that over onto the screen here. And this is kind of when you're looking at SERP features here. So if I'm looking around, I'm seeing the keywords that we're ranking for you. So and that's another key, is that you have a better chance at getting a SERP feature or a rich snippet on anything that you're already ranking #1 for, or at least on the first page of the SERP. So any pages or keywords that you're on the first page of the SERPs, this will show me kind of what those targets are. So I'm looking here and going, there's 302 of 456 that have this indented feature. I have 32 keywords, as you can see on the screenshot, and there's 270 I don't have. Okay, so I can easily go now make sure that I have structured data for this indented keyword on here. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make sure that I got this, and then I'm gonna use RankRanger to monitor that, to make sure that I'm getting, as you can see over here to the right, that I'm getting the indented. I got some indents on some of these. Those are the ones that's showing, and I got some certain things. So this is a way of using this tool to double check to make sure that you're getting and or targeting the right SERP features. And then featured snippets, this is another way where I can check to make sure I see my position keywords and how many featured snippets. It only looks like I only have a couple, and that's probably when was Daffy Duck created, so I got a question answer. So I need to create some FAQ structured data to get more of this Q&A stuff, because you see there's tons and tons and tons of Q&A featured snippets that I don't have, that I could have if I just went through here and targeted these keywords and wrote some structured data for that. So that's why you want to monitor your results, and you want to use a tool like RankBrain to dive in and see any potentials that you've got that you can now target and create code for, or anything like that, you can see right in this tool. So it's definitely a helpful tool, and you'll want to monitor and double check so that you can laser pinpoint target and grab those rich results and make sure that you get them. So get to work. Hopefully this was the biggest of the training here, and I'm wanting you to get to work. Identify schema for your site, pick up the appropriate properties, again, select the data, select the code and properties, and then you just insert in your site, whether you're using Rank Math or using the HFCM plugin, and then test with the schema checker, okay? And then submit, as I said, submit to Google's console once you get everything implemented correctly and it's tested out correctly, and then monitor with RankBrain so that it'll let you know whether you're getting these SERPs and the things that you need, or getting the rich features and the rich results that you need. So make sure that you do that, and I'm excited for you. Enjoy, and hopefully if you're learning a lot and you want to be able to test your knowledge, go to SEObrainery.com and see if you got what it takes. Test your knowledge and see if there's any gaps, anything missing, and see what you need to take your business and your clients to the top. Hopefully we will talk to you soon, and if you need to connect with me, go to SEObrainery.com or humgem.com. I'm always there answering questions. See you soon.